Yes, great. Thanks a lot. Indeed, that's what I wanted to show. Indeed.
You
So
are
yes, thank you. So indeed, yeah. So in my presentation, I will focus now on peer reviews, EQAVET peer reviews at system level. So we have been discussing quite a lot this morning on peer reviews at vet provider level, which is certainly also a very useful concept, but also at system level, there is some value in the concept of peer reviews. This is not entirely new because we know that some countries already, when they are, for example, carrying out their ECAVET and their P projects, that they already meet with other countries and also organize peer reviews also at system level. So, but we don't have yet an established or an agreed procedure or methodology at European level, or at least in the framework of the EQAVET network. And perhaps the next slide, please. And as already was mentioned this morning, so in the new VET recommendation on VET, there is a new task added to the part of the EQAVET NRPs, which is to participate in EQAVET peer reviews at system level. And it's important to really be clear on the objectives of this process, of these peer reviews at system level. So there are three main objectives. So first of all, it fits within the framework of mutual learning. So how can we improve mutual learning between the countries within the framework of the ECAVET network? And as you know, we have already since 2009, since the adoption of the ECAVET recommendation, we have already had many activities where we carry out mutual learning through peer learning activities, our working groups, and other events that we have been organizing. But also, we think that it is useful to apply this methodology of peer reviews at system level in order to enhance mutual learning. So the three main objectives are, first of all, to help the host country to improve their quality assurance arrangements. And then secondly, this is really the main purpose. And the second purpose is also to allow the other peers, other countries that are participating in this peer review to really also learn from the experience of the one country, and also to learn from the exchange that is taking place within the framework of a peer review, so that also they can improve and further develop their quality assurance arrangements at system level in their own country. So that's, and then also the third objective is about bringing more transparency to quality assurance arrangements. And here I refer, for example, to the external evaluation which was done on the ECAVET implementation, which also pointed out that perhaps indeed this issue of transparency is perhaps less addressed by ECAVET, and this is also a way, these peer reviews at system level can also be a way to help indeed improve transparency and mutual trust between the countries. So these are the three overall main objectives that we would like to pursue with these peer reviews. And as I mentioned, so these principles are defined or included in the VET recommendation, so which is approved by the ministers of VET of all EU member states. And now we have, as an ECAVET network, the mandate. We have received the mandate from the ministers to develop a specific methodology to carry out these peer reviews at system level. What I will present is a concept, it's a draft, so it's not yet a final methodology. So this concept has been, on the one hand, elaborated by the ECAVET Secretariat, which has already proposed a first draft, and also based on discussions we have had in the ECAVET network. As you might remember, for those who were part in our ECAVET network meeting of December last year, we had already a session on this topic of peer reviews at system level. So we have already taken the feedback from the countries or from the members of the ECAVET network in this first concept. And also we have discussed this concept already more in detail with the ECAVET steering committee in February, where we had also already a detailed discussion on this concept. And also next week, in fact, we will have a second meeting of the EQAVET steering committee to discuss more in detail this concept. So what I present is a concept, so it is subject to change, and of course also, so we have not yet the final text, so there might be changes, but this is what we have up to now. The next slide, please. So yeah, what are the main elements of this concept? So first of all, it's a voluntary process or exercise. So countries, they can yeah declare that they are interested to host a peer review. So it's not at all a compulsory or an obligation. And so then they can declare that they are interested to host a peer review. So typically we expect that it would be an EQAVET NRP, but of course the EQAVET NRP, they can work together with other bodies in their country, or for example with ministries and so on. So of course the practical details, this is up to the host country to elaborate this and to set the framework for the peer review. Then the other participants, the other peers, would be typically uh, representatives of EQAVET NRPs that would then participate in the review. And the scope of the exercise of the specific peer review will be determined by the host country. Yeah? So there we have several options, I mean, in theory at least. So it could be a comprehensive review of the whole quality cycle of quality assurance arrangements at system level, but that of course is a huge exercise. It might be perhaps too difficult or too large for one peer review. Or of course, a country can say, well, we would like to work on these specific elements of the quality cycle at system level, and you would like to, yeah, to discuss this within the framework of a peer review with other countries. So there, the scope, it's of course up to the host country to see what are their needs and where they can really, yeah, make the most benefit of a peer review. And then about the last principle about closed door approach. So of course, what will be discussed in a peer review, I mean, it remains confidential to the participants. And of course, after the event or the peer review, there will be, I guess, a report, but it will depend mainly to the host country to, yeah, to disclose details of these meetings or not. So this is up to the host country to decide on to which extent I would like to make public the elements that were discussed during the meetings. Yes, next slide, please. So here you see an overview of the different phases that we have currently in our draft concept. So there are 4 phases that we foresee. The first is the preparation. It's a bit the classic steps and phases also, which you can probably already find as well in peer reviews at the vet provider level to a certain extent. So the first phase is the preparation of the peer review. The second is the peer review meeting as such. Then the third phase is the feedback. It's an important phase. And then the fourth phase, also very important, is the follow-up. So which actions are taken following a peer review. So next slide, please. I will now yes, go into detail into each of these phases. So the first phase is, so we have to, of course, start with a country that volunteers to host the peer review. Then we expect, or we propose that a concept note will be developed where the country indicates which elements they would like to see reviewed. Um, then the second phase, the third step in this phase is preparation of the self-assessment of the host country. And there, of course, they might use the help and support of an expert of the EQAVET Secretariat. So this is the third phase, and then the fourth step in the first phase is briefing of the peer countries, because that's of course also very important that the other peers that will participate in this review, that they are fully briefed about yeah, the challenges and a bit also contextual information about the country, so that it's already easier to provide also feedback for the host country. Next slide, please. So then the second phase is the peer review meeting. So we plan currently 2 steps within this second phase. So the first step would be an initial peer discussion, which could perhaps take place during an online meeting where already, yeah, main points could be raised with regard to the peer review. And then the second part, second step, so step 6 in this slide, is then the peer meeting as such, where the peers and the external expert of the EQAVET Secretariat would hold the peer review meeting and discuss more in detail the peer assessment. Next slide. So then the third phase is the phase where indeed the peer feedback would be given and delivered. So this is an important phase. So this could take place, for example, at the end of the peer review meeting, where member states or the peers could give their feedback to the host country to explain more in detail what are their observations and suggestions to improve, for example, the policies reviewed. Then the next slide, please. Yes, then the last phase is about the follow-up following a peer review. So there we propose that the host country goes through the process of reviewing the feedback and decide on which response would be best given to the observations that were received. Then concretely, the host country could develop an action plan where they explain more concretely how they will take on board the comments received and the feedback received, and how this could then be improved in the future, the policies that were reviewed. And then the last step of this fourth phase is reporting back, for example, after 6 months or a year or 1.5 years, depending on the discussions and the things that needs to be addressed. So to look back 1 year later, for example, to look what has been achieved following, what was the impact or the results following the peer review. So this is a bit the last phase, the last step of the fourth phase. And this is next slide, please. And this is a bit how our draft concept looks like for the time being. As I mentioned, so the next steps in order to have a fully detailed methodology and approved methodology by the EQAVET network. So the next steps are, again, a meeting with the EQAVET steering committee on the 15th March or next week, where we will discuss the slides that I've just presented more in detail, and perhaps, as I mentioned, there might be changes to the slides that or to the principles that I have just explained following this meeting. And then we will discuss and present this concept with the whole EQAVET network during our next annual meeting, which will take place on the 1st and 2nd of June. And then, hopefully we can start with the first peer reviews, which we would rather see as a pilot peer reviews as of the second half of 2021. And then we will, of course, try to also learn a bit from the experience of the first reviews to perhaps adapt and adjust our methodology. So this is a bit where we are now with the concept of peer reviews. And as I mentioned, so this concept also benefited the input from the EQAVET steering committee, and I've seen that indeed Kathleen is also here among us. Perhaps there are also some other members of the steering committee. So this exercise will continue in the coming weeks, and I'm very thankful already for the feedback that we have received from the EQAVET network meeting in December, and also through the EQAVET steering committee. And so hopefully the plan is that we will have a fully fledged methodology by June this year. So if there would be any questions or comments on this concept, then I would, of course, be very happy to listen to any feedback already now or later on. Thank you.